Ooh, hello there. I did mean to put this up on Sunday. Sorry if it's a little bit late. It's Tuesday night now, post football, hence the Spain shirt, hence the messiness. My apologies. Cool. So, today I wanted to go over, in my opinion, best current player and then honourable mention. I was tempted to potentially do a best of all time in the Prem for some of these players, some of these teams. So that might be something I look at doing in the future, potentially depending on how well everything goes here and if I have any other amazing ideas. We'll see. So when it comes to best player, there's multiple ways of looking at it, and so I've tried to be balanced. So you can look at a player from sort of being the best technically. You can look at a player for being the best, sort of as the most valuable player in the team, the one where everything fits. Now, some teams were more difficult than others, as most teams and squads in the Premier League now work to a set system, and it's all about the cogs in each in each place. It's becoming less and less about the individual players. So, for example, like the one that can usually take the sort of scruff of the neck, the one that sort of has that free role and license to just do whatever and just can stand out like a Ronaldinho, for example, is a perfect example. So you just give the ball to just free roam and just play. Cool. So we'll go top to bottom, alphabetical order. For Arsenal, I have put Saka. Now, Saka is arguably on form one of the best right wingers in world football currently. He's sort of vying as one of the best right wingers with someone else later down on this list. I think he's young, he's incredible, he's only getting better. My worry, and I think it's always been a worry sort of for the last couple of seasons with Saka, is the fact that my concern is at his young age that he might potentially get overplayed, and sort of someone playing that much so young, I'm worried that that means the career will end a bit shorter or there's the greater potential for injury. So there's always the rumours sort of circling, well, we need a backup for Saka because he can't play 60 games. You're right, you can't play 60 games and they have to try and work around that, but when he's on song, he is ridiculous. My next player, or sort of my honourable mention, would arguably be who I think is one of the best technical players at Arsenal, and that's Martin Odegaard, who they're currently missing at the moment. And you can see a transition in sort of style of play, having him to not having him. Arsenal are a bit more, they're a bit slower, a bit more, well, you could argue robust in how they play. But Odegaard, he can sort of, with his short range passing, his ability to move the ball, ability to drive, his decision making, I rate him so highly as an attacking midfielder. He is sort of the best. He's the mould of what all attacking midfielders should sort of look like right now, in my opinion. I think he is absolutely incredible, and I think coming back round in November when he comes back, he is going to be a big. He's going to make a big impact as far as I'm concerned on Arsenal's title push. Cool. So Aston Villa, I've gone Ollie Watkins. This is an obvious one. This is an easy one. The sheer amount of goal contributions last season, whether he was burning heart sort of past XG or not, regardless, one of the best strikers in the league. He's sort of so smart with his movement, his finishing, his pace. He's absolutely elite. And I think if Harry Kane didn't sort of exist, he'd be England's starting number 9. Well, he would have been for a while. Very, very good player. So, honourable mention probably has to be Martinez. I think he's a big character to have in that dressing room. He sort of very much commands his area. Some can sort of say about the housery sort of aspects of him. Sort of, he's a player that will wind you up if you're another team, but you'd love to have in your own team. One of the best keepers around in the league, in my opinion, and sort of definitely worth the honourable mention. So Bournemouth, These two I sort of just about managed to split apart. So I've gone for Semenyo as the main sort of best player. I think he's sort of a bit more clinical, a bit more creative as well. With Sinistera behind him as an honourable mention, I think the wingers are so important, so good for Bournemouth. Now they don't have the Solanke outlet, and they're relying on Evan Nielsen, but they're still, regardless of not having the Solanke, they've still got the goal contributions. They still terrorise fullbacks, and they are both just absolutely immense. Right, so for Brentford, I've gone for Mbeumo as the main man. He often played second fiddle to Ivan Toney because Ivan Toney was so physically dominating, sort of being able to put the ball up to him. And Mbeumo's managed to get quite a few good goals early on, partly down to Brentford's strategy of being able to just get early goals straight from kickoffs. They seem to have something sort of nailed down now, which I think other teams are going to have to start getting wise to, considering all the early goals that they're currently scoring. Next, I have Jan Visa, because I think Visa is the only other player that I think is actually going to sort of contribute goals. I think a lot of the other players are workhorses that give you the 6 or 7 out of 10 every week. Your Norgard, your Jensens, your Ethan Pinnocks. I think that sort of, you need that little bit of quality with them, and I think with Mbeumo, with VC, you get that quality side of it. But then obviously you've got the other players there, sort of with the great work ethic. Next, we've got Brighton. Now, I think recently he's been highlighted a bit more. They've gone for João Pedro as their best player. I think people didn't realise he's had 22 goals last season, because we did score quite a few in European competition as well. And I think he started the season sort of really well. He's sort of playing behind the strike, behind Danny Welbeck, and making a lot of things happen. He's currently out at the moment, and Rutter has come in and done an amazing job. But I still think João Pedro is this levels above. I think he's very young, he's very good, and I could see him being the next player to make that big money move away from Brighton. Who that happens to be, we'll have to wait and see. Next, I have Matoma. Having watched the game against Spurs, he's just one of the best wingers in the league, I think, on his day. You can't say it's down to like blistering pace. It's just that touch, that dribbling ability is just so immense, and he gives any fullback an absolute nightmare. And if you play up against him, you're gonna have that hell of a day dealing with that. Chelsea, it's obvious it's Cole Palmer for their main player. The amount of goal, he's got more goal contributions than Haaland, I think, within the same time period. Absolutely ridiculous. Goals with assists, with the coolness and composure in the final third. I don't think there's a player better in world football in the way of sort of having the composure that he has. Some people could say sort of absent-mindedness based on like how he answers interviews, but as someone with a football IQ, he is really up there. Next one I want to mention for the honourable mention is Caicedo. I think he gets slept on a lot, and I think people are only starting to realise now how good he is as a midfielder. He is becoming the player that they bought. That price tag obviously made things very difficult and quite awkward for him trying to justify £100 million sort of plus. No player ever, there's only been about 2 players in my opinion that have ever done that. And so, is he £100 million player? No. Is he one of Chelsea's best midfielders? Probably. Yeah, I mean, you look at sort of the other players there. Enzo Fernandez, no. Dewsbury Hall, no. Lavia, no. I think I'm really starting to rate him, and he's really starting to become more comfortable within that Chelsea team. For Crystal Palace, who've gone Eberechi Eze, he's just such a good technical player. They're very much going to rely on him a lot more this season, having lost Elise and sort of one of the other technically gifted players, but he's still someone that can make something happen almost out of nothing. Playing sort of, he can play on the wings, he sort of plays sort of deep in the midfield. He's played left back for England, and I think he's done a pretty good job wherever he sort of manages to do. Just very smart, good first touch, press the ball. He's got a good shot on him. Absolutely brilliant player. Next, well, I was unsure of who to do here. I think I would have gone, potentially could have gone Anderson, but had he still been here. But I'm going to Adam Morton. I think someone that age, controlling that and playing that position in particular, you have to be very physically strong because it's a very physically demanding. You have to have such great match intelligence for someone so young. I think he does a heck of a job considering the amount of traffic a team like Palace have sort of coming through at them. The Wharton's sort of ability off and on the ball is just absolutely brilliant, and I think he should really be pushing on that into that England 11 sort of pretty sort of soon and getting the balance right. If I think him and Mainu, I think I was potentially battling it out. I think Mainu obviously has the edge at the moment, but I think Wharton could really push him. Everton, Jordan Pickford, he saves them every season from relegation. Yes, has the odd howler in him, but he's one of the best goalkeepers in the league. Consistently, he sort of commands his area. He's very vocal, arguably sometimes a bit too much. But he's sort of respected throughout the club with the fans. He will sort of give absolutely everything for that shirt and has a penalty save in as well, which is always good as an England fan. Next, we've got Jared Branthwaite. I think it's been obvious with his injuries recently how much they miss him. I think Branthwaite and Tarkowski's partnership last season was really strong and why they had one of the best defences in the league. And without him, having Michael Keane there, no offence to Michael Keane, it's not the same partnership, it's not as good. It's just not. Next for Fulham, we have Emil Smith Rowe. I think his absolute steal. If you keep him fit fully for a season, he's going to do absolute bits. His link-up play with sort of Reece Nelson and Iwobi is so good. Everything just goes through him. There was never a question of his technical ability at Arsenal. It's always a question of fitness. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And for my honourable mention, I've gone Bernd Leno. I think Bernd Leno is such an underrated goalkeeper. I'm amazed that he's at Fulham and not at a bigger team. He's so good, sort of, so comfortable. Sort of, he's just such a good shot stopper. Commands his box. I can't fault him sort of as a goalkeeper. He's absolutely amazing. Now, next one's Ipswich. Ipswich I actually sort of struggled with a bit because of the outlay of players that have come in and gone out over the last window, and that they're very much a team that works as the collective, not as the individual. So I've gone for Leif Davis, our left back, as to break the records that he did in the Championship with his sheer assists, sort of getting past people like Kieran Trippier, shouldn't go unnoticed. And I think he's underrated on his the defensive side of his game. Obviously, he's stronger going forward, having trained under Bielsa at Leeds. But I just think he's absolutely just a brilliant sort of technical left back. He's sort of potentially a younger model of Leighton Baines in some respects, and his ability to get forward and potential ability from set pieces. Next, we've got Amari Hutchinson. He hasn't quite delivered in the Premier League stage just yet. I've seen him have a few good first touches in games that I've seen him, but there's not been the end product, as it were. I think he could take some time to adjust to the Prem. People don't understand it took him some time to adjust to the Championship and the physicality of that. And I think he has to do a similar thing with the Premier League. He's a very smart young player. I think he will adapt. And I think in the next few games you're going to see sort of the player that was in the Championship that McKenna was raving about. Next for Leicester, we've got Mavididi. So much good came through Mavididi in their promotion push. Just technically so good. His goal contributions, his assists, getting forward, getting goals himself. He does a bit of everything. And if Leicester stay up, it's going to partly be down to him. Honourable mention, unfortunately, got Jamie Vardy. I think he's just consistently there, consistently getting the goals, regardless of his lifestyle. He absolutely bleeds for that club, and he will give absolutely everything on that pitch. And it's still showing that the fact that he's getting those goals. Liverpool have gone Salah, who people could still argue is the best right winger in world football. Saka obviously pushing him a bit close now. It's a guarantee the amount of goals you get from him, and that is such. It's so weird to say. It's just such a to be someone that's guaranteed like 20 plus goals a season consistently for like the last 3-4 seasons is ridiculous. It's not spoken about enough. Just how good that is. Do I think his ability has dipped over the last season? I mean, probably. Probably. I don't think he's as good as he was, but I think he's still the best player there at Liverpool. Next, we've got for the honourable mention, I've gone for Virgil van Dijk. Arguably, still one of the best centre backs in the world. I think he's had dips. I think he was a lot stronger last season, and now he's sort of back to his best, in my opinion. Although I do believe Saliba is pushing him close on that front. For Manchester City, the best player I've gone for Rodri. I think best CDM in the world. Arguably could win the Ballon d'Or, and I think I'd probably be okay with that. I think he's just so comfortable in that City team. He makes it tick. City can chop and change players within that first 11 and still get results. They can swap out a defender, they can swap out a winger. What they struggle to do is swapping out Rodri, the one per action, to show how important he is to such a dominant and sort of strong team. Honourable mention would be De Bruyne. I think his technical ability as a Cam is second to none. His passing range, the shots he gets off, the goal contributions, he sort of scares people when he comes on the pitch. I think he's lost a bit of an edge in his pace and his drive, but I still think he is absolutely amazing. Some people might argue, why haven't you put Haaland here? I think City can still win leagues without Haaland. I think he's an absolute goal machine, but he's not a footballer that I'm personally interested in watching. He's not. It's robotic. It's numbers. There's no. It doesn't feel like there's enough enjoyment in that, and that's just sort of a bit. It sucks the fun out of it a little, to be honest. For United, I've gone Bruno Fernandes. I sort of feel sorry for him, as I think the goal contribution, like the amount of times he lays the ball on, I think in particular like that COVID season and some of the seasons afterwards, he creates more than almost any other attacking midfielder. He always willing to play that risky pass. He covers a lot of ground. People can argue, oh, he dives and he whinges. Maybe a little bit, but no one can argue his technical quality or his technical ability. I think he's absolutely amazing. And I sort of feel sorry that there's someone that's been that good in a United team that has, unfortunately, the last few seasons struggled. My honourable mention would be Garnacho. I think he really flourished and kicked on last season. I'm expecting the same again this year. I think Rashford's a bit too inconsistent. I never know, like, he had a bit of a rough season last year. The season before he was amazing. I never know, there's no guarantee there. Garnacho, I think, is young. He's getting better, and he should be on the first names on the team sheet for United every single time, in my opinion. For Newcastle, I've sort of debated which way around to put these two, but I'm going to put Isak as my number one. I think he's one of the best strikers on his day in world football. I think his only issue is his fitness record. If he can stay fit, he sort of has this, just the physique, of Thierry Henry, in how he's sort of got that pace, that power, and that technical ability. I'm not saying he's as good as Thierry Henry. That's a bit pushing it a little bit, but he's sort of Henry light, maybe. He's sort of very, very good a finisher, and I think if he can stay fully fit for Newcastle, they go places. Honourable mention will go Bruno Guimaraes. I think he's the heartbeat of that team. He can do any role within that midfield, whether you want him to get into the box, or whether you need him sort of sitting back and sort of helping defensively. He's got a bit of everything. He can do a bit of everything. And I think Newcastle are lucky to have sort of a player like that. However, I sort of decided between the two of them, I think who's going to push them into a higher position, it's probably going to be Isak. For Nottingham Forest, I've gone for Hudson-Odoi. I think he is I think the wingers at Forest are amazing. I think he's such a good player, sort of getting forward. His technical ability. I remember he was linked with like Bayern Munich for a few seasons ago for like 40, 50 million. I don't think he'll ever get to that price tag or value again. But I think Forest have managed to get themselves a real bargain for what was it, like 3, 4 million? Absolutely ridiculous that they managed that. Next, I'm going to go for Murillo as an honourable mention. I think he's such a strong centre back, and Nuno Espirito Santo needed that as a manager that primarily is defence focused first. I think he's starting to get mentioned around the big teams with a potential big move coming some point soon. I think he's sort of very good, very front foot defender, and can't argue with sort of how well Forest have been doing at the moment. So next two teams, the teams I've been struggling with the most, I think, because they work well as collectives. Because sort of saying with Ipswich, I think there's a lot of strength in how they'll work together, they'll work as a team. So for the best one for Southampton, I've gone for Flynn Downs. I think everything flows through Flynn Downs. Everything did through the Championship season, and it is again now. Someone that showing for the ball, for the defenders to sort of play the ball forward. I don't know whether he's sort of struggling against Premier League midfielders, but I think he is very good. And I think Southampton were very smart to pick him up on the permanent deal. Honourable mention, I'd have to go Adam Armstrong, I think. I think he offered the team a lot of goals and sort of threat going forward and assists in the Championship season. My issue, I suppose, with him is needing to see it in the Premier League, sort of in a Premier League season, whether there's enough ability there to do something there. But he would probably be the next most sort of stand-out-ish player for Southampton that could make a real difference. Spurs, as I say, I'm struggling with. I'd probably put Son. I think his ability has sort of diminished a little bit with age, or possibly missing Harry Kane. He was still solid enough last year, but I think he wasn't. The goal return wasn't quite there as much. And I think the alternative of Werner, I know exactly who I'd want in my team. Son in himself is arguably, if you look at the stats, one of the best finishers in the game. If you have a one-on-one, I think statistically the only person you want to have more than Son is Messi. That just shows how good level finishing he is. When he gets those chances, he takes those chances. Just very good. Unfortunately, for the honourable mention, I probably have to give James Maddison. Don't like him being ex-Norwich, but everything when he's playing can go through him. Got a good shot on him, got a good pass on him. And I think he's sort of the creative hub of that team. I think that midfield sort of got a lot of workman-like players to enable Maddison to play his game. And I think he's sort of very good and very strong. I think Spurs struggle when he's injured. For West Ham, I've gone Jarrod Bowen. I think the goal output you get from him consistently is absolutely amazing. He works sort of so hard. He is pretty much West Ham now. It's so good. Rightfully, consistently getting in the England squad now. Oh, I can hear the rain now. And I sort of feel sorry because I think in another time he would have got more games for England. He's got a lot of competition there. But it's someone that's going to consistently get you sort of the 10 plus goals and sort of 10 plus assists every season. West Ham are sort of a team that never seem to quite manage to get that dream number 9 they try for every summer. But they don't always have to with Jarrod Bowen, sort of with the amount of goal contributions he has, which keeps West Ham sort of doing well. Honourable mention, arguably a better technical player is Mohamed Kudus. I think on his day, he is so good. It's just his ability to sort of get around players, which wouldn't argue he's maybe not got the blistering pace, but it's just the dribbling ability, the close sort of quarters sort of playing football, one-on-one with a fullback. He beats the fullback 9 times out of 10. Honestly, it's just ridiculous. For Wolves, I'm umming and ahhing which way round to put these two, but I'm going to stick with what I've originally put, and I put Cunha as the best player. I think any means of getting a goal, it's through Cunha. I think if the ball either brings the ball forward, either goes through him, or it is just him getting goals for Wolves. And it's a team that struggles getting goals, and I think he is the reason why if they do well against anyone, he's usually played a strong part in it. The other honourable mention, who I could have put as number one for Wolves, would be Aït-Nouri. I think he's one of the best left-sided players in the league currently. I don't think there's a lot of strength and abundance in that position, admittedly. Ideally, as a left wing back and not as a left back. He's so defensively sound. He's so good getting forward. He doesn't really have a weakness to his game. He can do a bit of everything, and you just got to sort of appreciate that. How good he is in a position that sort of there isn't a lot of depth to. And I think because of that, I think he could get a big money move to Liverpool or something like that soon. But no, let me know in the comments below. Who do you think's the best player for your team here? Have I missed any? Have any glaring mistakes? Would you like me to have a look at best players all around, sort of for each of these teams, or potentially for other teams that have been in the Premier League, like a Leeds or a Reading or something like that? Let us know in the comments below. Cheers for listening.